Hi, Susie. Could you start the broadcast, please? Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of South Oxfordshire District Council's Scrutiny Committee. I'm Sam Casey-Rare. I'll be chairing this committee. I have apologies in advance. I have a bit of a cold, so I might be snuffling through this. So apologies in advance. First item for this evening, chair's announcements. I don't really have any announcements. We're still expecting one more councillor to turn up, but we're working him when he comes. We go to apologies. We've got apologies from Councillor Barlow, and I believe Councillor Rob is joining online.
Yeah, she's not there
She's not quite here yet. Okay. So we'll just go through, carry on slowly. Minutes of the last meeting. Item 3 is to adopt and sign minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of September 2025. Can we just take these for accuracy at the moment? Yeah. Happy with those? Thank you. Yes, proposal second. Thank you. And item 4 is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest for items on the agenda or any other interests? None. I see none. Urgent business, I have none. I don't think there is any as far as I know. And item 6 is public participation. I believe we have one person who's come to speak to the committee this evening. Councillor Michael May. Councillor May, would you like to turn your camera on? Hello.
Hopefully that's on now.
Yes, we can hear you. That's great. You have 3 minutes to speak. I'll try and remind you, I've only got about 30 seconds left. So if you'd like to start when you're ready.
Okay, my name's Michael May. I'm the chair of Sydenham Parish Council. Hopefully we can all agree that in place with the planning permissions and that planning conditions are discharged and adhered to. If that's not the case, then basically the whole planning process becomes somewhat irrelevant. Whilst the current report has merit in measuring the performance of planning enforcement, i.e. the process, it seems to fundamentally miss the most important issue, which is it effective? There's no point in enforcement if the main measure of whether it's working or not is driven by whether the team meet the timescales identified in the enforcement statement for each part of the process. How can a review of planning enforcement take place without anyone asking the parish and town councils their views? They're the ones who more often than not identify potential breaches of planning permissions and conditions. I represent Sydenham Parish Council, and I know that a lot of other parish councils are very dissatisfied with the planning enforcement. The general consensus is that it's totally ineffective and that developers can pretty well do anything they like, and all they get asked to do is submit a retrospective planning application that will then get approved. Stop notices are very rarely issued, and there's no disincentive not just to build what you like. The telling statistic in the report is in the case closure table, where some 22% of cases it is not expedient to do anything, and apart from no breach, this is the highest category. So by way of an example of the concerns is an example in Sydenham that happened about a year ago. 2 separate planning applications with 2 different extensions are taken 2 years apart. Developer starts building and it becomes evident they're combining the 2 applications, thus doubling the size of either of the approved permissions. Parish Council raised with SODC enforcement before the roof went on. It takes 2 months for enforcement to do anything. And then the conclusion is that it is not expedient to do anything, but they will ask for a retrospective planning application. Retrospective planning permission granted as the building was completed, and new planning conditions imposed, in particular about parking. Property on the market and planning condition has not been met for parking, and enforcement say, oh, well, we can't do
30
anything
seconds
until the
left.
property is sold. This makes a farce of planning enforcement and the need to start issuing stop notices. How many stop notices have actually been issued in the last 2 years? It's not about the process or regulation, it's about how it's being implemented. I'm requesting that the group of parish councils meet the head of enforcement, planning and the lead of the council to highlight these issues and shape the remit for review, which includes how effective planning enforcement is.
Thank you very much. And thank you for keeping to time. If any of the councillors would like to ask questions of clarification, that's what we can ask at this moment. Rather than
Thank you, Councillor May. Can you just clarify for me, because one of the things you said was how you about engagement. So can you just summarise for me and clarify how you would like the enforcement team to engage or work with parish councils?
Well, the starting point, I think, is two things. One is to start with that I think the review should focus on whether planning enforcement is effective. And that's where discussions with the parish and town councils to ask them the questions of what are their experiences of when a breach has been raised, what has been the response, how effective it has been, because I think we'll find, and we've tried to get this information before, but it's never been provided, stop notices are very, 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 very rarely ever issued. So actually, whenever there's a breach, the main response is, oh, we'll put a retrospective planning application in. And because things have then been completed and obviously become much more difficult to get things knocked down at a later date, those retrospective planning applications get approved. So enforcement and SODC need the input of the parish and town councils because we're the front line who identify when the breaches are taking place. So we're the ones who should be able to tell SODC, is the process working? Is it effective or is it not effective?
anyone else? Councillor Arlott?
Yes, Councillor, could you tell me how often does your planning committee meet? How often?
We meet every time there's a planning application for the Sydenham Parish Council.
How often is that?
We meet monthly, but if a planning application comes in that is required to be responded to between meetings, then we will do so.
Cool. Could I just say what I do?
No.
Okay.
These are just points of clarification.
I don't think it's a question of the raising of a breach. What we raised the breach when it became clear. It's in that that's nothing to do with how often we meet. It's when we detected that the planning permission was not being adhered to, we raised it with enforcement. It then took enforcement over 2 months to even consider the case.
Is this clarification?
Yeah, it's clarification. Do you take up this with your district councillor?
Yes, for months. And I've taken it up with Mr. Ruane, who I can see, I think is part of this meeting. It's been raised.